some handstand beginner, intermediate friendly hacks for you to get you going on your handstand journey in a safe, smart, and effective way. Some of these tactics can also be utilized to help you in some other hand balancing movements like frog stand or crow pose. Definitely the beginning bit here. So I'm going to get into it. Before we get started, if you end up by liking this video, please subscribe to the channel, like it, share it with your friends. It helps us a ton. So first main point of focus, wrists. Get in the habit of doing just some deep stretching whenever you're doing yoga, or even if you just get some time throughout your day, just once a day, 3 to 5 times a week. It doesn't have to be every day. Definitely before you start to get into your handstand practice or your hand balancing practice. Do some deep extension. You want to build up to at least 30 seconds in each direction. So extension being one direction on each side, 30 seconds. I already warmed up my wrist, so I'm not going to bore you. And then some flexion, the opposite direction, for 30 seconds or so in each direction. So that's the simple bit. Now, you're going to need a little bit more than that once you start getting into handstands and hand balances. This is where you want to start to practice building strength in a deeply extended position. So just think about tabletop position. Follow along with me if you like. Hands under your shoulders. Practice putting some weight on your wrists in that deeply extended position. Pulse into your comfort zone just a little bit. Come right back. Don't ever burn out with this stuff. Always save a little bit of energy. Don't get to the point to where you're hurting. Please come back. Once that's comfortable, you want to start getting into a plank or push-up plank and doing some pulses in that deeply extended position. These are key. These are huge. These will definitely make things like doing a handstand a lot more comfortable once you can start to take some weight in that deeply extended position. A lot of people will notice that handstands start to hurt their wrists when they're training them, so you want to kind of scale back a bit. Now we're just putting some of our weight on our wrists, not our whole upside down vertical weight onto our wrists. You can maybe do that movement that I showed you 2-3 times a week for 30 seconds of pulses or so, but build yourself up. Don't burn out with these kind of movements. You always want to not go to fatigue, maintain a bit of freshness in your joints. So that's one main point, wrists. Second main area of focus, shoulder flexibility. So when you're new at your shoulder flexibility game, child's pose is huge. Start with your open knees about shoulder width or more apart, toes are touching. Practice going very deep with your child's pose, reaching your fingertips to the top of the mat and pressing your chest down. Holding it for about a minute. A few times a week is just fine, 3 to 5 times a week. That's level one. Level two, that becomes a little easy. You want to start doing that shoulder opening stretch against the wall or even a door frame. You're basically wanting to get deeper into your shoulder extension here, pushing your chest down. My knees are bent a little bit. Keep your back straight. Do not force it with these movements. Flexibility takes time and patience to build. It could be 1 to 3 months before you start to see a big progress. So the journey is what some of these movements are all about. You don't want to injure yourself by trying to get to a place that your body is not quite ready for. I see that in yoga so much, where people are just forcing themselves into positions that they aren't quite ready for. It takes time, it takes patience. So next, we covered wrist flexibility and strength. We covered shoulder flexibility. Now we need to practice the shoulder strength and our balance for the handstand. That's where coming against the wall is the great next step in our handstand journey. So I like to do the back to wall method. That's where literally my back is to the wall. So first things first, when practicing against the wall or even not against the wall, you want to practice really controlling the ascent and descent to the handstand and making it as graceful as possible. It's not going to be graceful in the beginning, but just controlling the movement up and down will begin to help you learn balance. You might just plop against the wall at the beginning, that's okay. So now we're working on strength, really extending our shoulders, opening them up. Don't worry about balance too much. Really rely on the wall in the beginning, because I promise you the balance will come a lot more easily once the strength in your shoulders and wrists are there. With these back to wall movements, don't go to failure. Do about 60 to 70% of your maximum effort. So if like a minute is your maximum hold time, do 40 seconds. Don't even measure your max hold time too often, because burning out will make it so that you have less focus and strength to practice more frequently throughout the week. Handstand training is more benefited from frequency with a high degree of freshness, not being too sore and stiff often throughout the week, 3 to 5 times a week at least. And maybe you want to try 3 to 5 holds per session, 2 to 5 even when you're new at it. So that way you are building up. Start with fewer sets when you're new at it. So once you start building strength, you'll notice over, let's say, about a few weeks to a month, that your shoulder strength is really coming together. Wow. That's when stability practice will come. So the stability will come much more easy when you have strength in. So you've been practicing the ascent and the descent, your balance is better, your strength is better. Now start taking 1 foot away from the wall at a time, really pressing strongly. If you start to lose it, put a foot back, that's okay. Even if you have to put your foot back instantly, that's okay, it'll get better. Point through your toes, press through your shoulders, make your body really tall. That helps control the descent. Balance takes practice as well. So 3 to 5 times a week, 2 to 5 even when you're new, 2 to 5 sets each session. Stop early, come down early. I promise you that's an important point. Don't measure your max hold times every single time. That's a huge tip I got for you. Eventually this thing's going to come easy. It's just a journey. It takes a lot of practice and patience. Last little tip, I've talked about this one before. Bonus tip, hollow body hold or low boat. My favorite core exercise, especially for handstands, it has you practicing tucking in your pelvis. Start with feet higher when you're new at it. Bring them down. You don't want your back to arch. If it starts to arch, lift your feet. 2 to 4 sets of those, 2 to 3 times a week. Do it at the end of your handstand practice when you don't have a whole lot of upper body strength left. Many thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Peace.